Donald Trump's top advisor and potential future chief of staff, Steve Bannon, went on a series of deranged fascistic rants about what he, Trump, and MAGA will do to Trump's enemies if they win the 2024 election, and we have to talk about it. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to look at in this video. Steve Bannon, this guy right here, is one of the craziest Trump supporters. In some ways, one of the most competent ones as well. He has a podcast called The War Room. Again, lots of unhinged stuff coming from that particular podcast, so I'm sure you're vaguely familiar with who this guy is. He is reportedly going to be Donald Trump's chief of staff if Trump wins the election, which would make him effectively the second most powerful person in the country. And given all the crazy stuff that Trump and Bannon and others like them have talked about doing to the rest of us who oppose Donald Trump, I think it's important to revisit. And these are some recent comments made by Bannon to that effect.
We mock your fear. We want you to fear. It's going to be accountability. We are taking apart the administrative state. We're going to destroy the deep state, and we're going to hold everybody responsible that put this republic in the situation it's in today. Accountability, responsibility. And that will come with authority. The authority of Donald John Trump as the 47th president of the United States.
That's weird. That's crazy. That's like very cultish and fascistic. Again, just the frothing rant. But he actually had another one who, by the way, he had another one while on the phone with this right-wing lunatic named Julie Kelly, who has been one of the biggest proponents of the recent conspiracy theory that President Biden tried to assassinate Donald Trump back in 2022 when the FBI seized classified documents from Trump's home in Florida on a day that Trump wasn't there, because they specifically chose that day to take the documents because Trump wasn't there, so they wouldn't embarrass Trump, and Secret Service was coordinated with whatever. But this is the conspiracy theory. We've talked about it in different videos. So there are two crazy people on the call here, but it's only Bannon ranting.
And people realize exactly what's going on here, and we're not going to back off 1 inch. And if you don't like it, then that's your problem. Because we're taking back this country, and we're going to set a new set of standards, which are the traditional standards of how things have been run. And
again, just really weird, crazy stuff. You can hear the grievance. You can hear there's the vitriol and contempt that they have for the vast majority of Americans. Donald Trump, of course, has never won the popular vote against any Democratic challenger. He lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton, as unpopular as she was. He lost the popular vote against Joe Biden in 2020. He's probably going to lose the popular vote in this election, even if he wins via the Electoral College. So it's not like Trump has a popular mandate by any stretch. But yeah, this is, again, in part and parcel of that Project 2025 initiative that we've referenced in videos, and we're going to continue to talk about in more detail as the election approaches. It's a 1,000-page tome, a comprehensive plan by the likes of the Heritage Foundation, these right-wing think tanks that have been working in the shadows for decades, cobbling together notions like unitary executive theory, this idea that a conservative executive, not a liberal or progressive executive, not those, but just a conservative executive, that they're effectively a one-man show, that they shouldn't be subject to checks and balances from the other two branches, that they should use every lever of power to, enact some sort of weird Christo-fascist, nationalist agenda to, further malign and, impugn the rights of marginalized groups and minorities and women, that they think the country is theirs. It belongs to them. Conservatives believe that the country belongs to conservatives. They don't have to share it with anybody. It's just theirs. And we're awful people by daring to exist and vote and have opinions and things like that. Conservatives, as far as they're concerned, are the only true Americans, and they have put forth a really robust and terrifying full court press agenda to try to see that through. Bannon is part of that. So Abby Phillips on CNN, related to all this, she actually went through, it's a short clip because, of course, Mehdi Hasan put out a 10-minute one, which is really, really good as well, going into a hypothetical timeline of Trump's first 100 days. We've talked about that in a previous video. This is a recent clip from Abby Phillips on CNN going through some of the terrifying Trump highlights if he's granted a second term, things that he has promised to do.
Has given the country plenty of new evidence about what he plans to do if he captures the Oval Office. So let's go headline by headline. Lawfare. Trump plans to prosecute his predecessor, Joe Biden, for all of the many crimes that Trump says Biden has committed, but refuses to actually name. Saturday night massacres? Well, Trump says sure. He told Time magazine he would fire U.S. attorneys who don't follow his orders to prosecute his opponents. And consider hiring someone under federal investigation as Attorney General. Well, yes, Trump says that Ken Paxton is on his list of possible AGs. Fire the Fed chair? A close Trump confidant says, from jail, mind you, you can bet on it. Spark a trade war that could take money from middle-class wallets? That's under advisement, too. $1 billion quid pro quo offered up to oil executives? That's now under investigation by House Democrats. A plan for sweeping immigration raids, deportations, internment camps. Those are also being drawn up. Monitoring and prosecuting women who have abortions. It's up to the states, Trump says. Contraceptive bans? Trump now says never. But that's just hours after saying, we'll see.
Do you support any restrictions on a person's right to contraception?
Well, we're looking at that, and I'm going to have a policy on that very shortly. Things really do have a lot to do with the states.
Withhold funds from Congress? Trump says he can do that. Deploy the National Guard to cities on a whim. Trump believes he has the power to do that, too. But the same election deniers who tried to discard the Constitution in charge of upholding the Constitution, that is also part of Trump's plan. The civil service, you can expect that to be gutted. Social media posts borrowing language from Nazi Germany, well, it happened during Trump's first term, and it's happening again now. Add it all up, and Trump has given the American people a pretty clear picture of how he plans to govern.
Correct. And this is the problem, because a lot of people don't take it seriously. We have a very disaffected, disenchanted population, sometimes with good reason, other times it's just laziness and lethargy. I'm not running for office, so I'm free to say that, and it is what it is. It's not just our politicians who have failed us. They very often fail, but also we have failed. You and I have failed. Our friends and loved ones have failed. We have all failed to varying degrees to take this thing seriously. We as a society just grade Trump on a curve. We just say, oh, that's Trump. We hyper-focus, again, on stuff that doesn't matter, like, again, what shoes the green M&M wears, or, if this thing is woke or whatever. I mean, that stuff takes up as much of our attention. Biden's old, but I mean, Trump, he is, but he's not. He's not old in the same way. We have all contributed to this to one extent or another. And to have a functioning society, all of us have to have buy-in, right? We as citizens have to be engaged. Our politicians have to be faithful, right, to us, to the Constitution, to be sure. But this is a thing that has to go both ways, because usually what happens is if you have engaged citizens who will hold their politicians accountable, that's more incentive for the politicians to behave the way that they should. But if we stop paying attention to things, if we stop caring, then they feel like they're given free range to do whatever they want. The media, in various ways, as we've talked about on this channel, has failed us in this respect, because in a very rational media that took its role as the fifth estate, right? The fourth branch of government. Some people say that the thing is supposed to speak to power and inform the citizens. Project 2025 and all the crazy fascistic things that Trump and his advisors like Steve Bannon have said would take up infinitely more bandwidth, right? We would be, for every one story about Biden's age, there would be 15 stories about this instead of the reverse. But that's, of course, because much of the media has a perverse financial incentive as opposed to, again, some sort of sense of civic obligation. But yeah, so again, we're going to talk more about this as time goes on. And listen, some people say, the guardrails held during round one. Trump tried, he failed. It's stupid. It's irrational to hear that from people like Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro, people who are smart. To hear them lie and engage in bad faith that way, it's really discouraging. Again, we talked about this. You have a guardrail on a highway. Somebody plows a Ford F-150 into the guardrail holds. It's warped. It's damaged, but it holds. When you extract the truck from the guardrail, you don't toss the driver a fresh set of keys and give them, another F-150 and say, try again. You take their keys away from them. You remove the threat. You reinforce the guardrails. You take precautions. And fortunately, there are a lot of people who think very differently about our constitutional guardrails, which, by the way, are not self-enforcing. It's not a magical document. This isn't Harry Potter. It's not supernatural. It's not The Little Mermaid, right? This is the real world in which institutions and norms have to be maintained and defended vigorously by people of good faith. And Donald Trump and his MAGA supporters intend to replace those good faith actors with cultists, and that's incredibly dangerous. Let me know what you think in the comments.